Hello, hello, everyone. Good morning and good evening to the whole world. We are very happy to open this special webinar, international webinar, The World as a Classroom, that hosted here, and we have by the Israeli Chamber of Technology, and we have so many partners that join us this evening. I would like to invite Eli Frank to opening the chairman of the embassy, the Chamber of the Israeli Technology, to open this webinar. Eli, go ahead. You're on mute, Eli. You're on mute.
Okay. Hi, good morning to our friends from North America. Good evening to our friends from Israel. Good noontime from our friends from India and from all over the world, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to be here with you in this very special webinar that Shai initiated as part of her very nice activity in the Israeli Chamber for Information Technology. Actually, we are in very interesting times, we all know it, and many new buzzwords came to the world. We are speaking today about the new normal. We are speaking about the times pre-coronavirus and the times post-coronavirus. We are speaking about the digital transformation 2.0. We are speaking about many times what we can see and what we would like to adopt as a principle now is to see how we are moving very strongly and very rapidly from ecosystem to ecosystem, and not only local ecosystem, but global ecosystem. And we can see it, first of all, in the healthcare area, in which organizations, companies, labs that used to compete each other now cooperate from all over the world. We have many collaborations to find the medicine for this corona disease. And and it's very interesting and very nice to see it. And I believe that as we can see it in the healthcare, we can see it in other areas as well. One of them, for example, is the education, how we can promote the new education, the new teaching, the new learning by the advanced technology, and to share and to collaborate from all over the world the efforts for promoting that. Because I believe that, like in Israel, as well as other countries all over the world, from overnight, all the education systems moved from regular teaching and traditional teaching to online teaching using Zoom and other Teams and other technologies. And now it's time to put it in the right way and to build it in the right way from the pedagogy issue and the teaching area, and to see how we build it. And I believe that we can join forces from all over the world how to build it right, and even to influence in the market levels and in the country levels how to build it right after we can learn from each other. And this webinar will deal with this issue, and we're very exciting to have it. But before going into the webinar itself, if I may, I'll share a few screens to introduce for those of you that are not familiar with our association, the Israeli Chamber for Information Technology, few slides and few words about our organization. Now let me find here it is. So how can I move to another? Hillel, how I can move to my next? Oh, okay, sorry, here it is. Yeah, so the Israeli Chamber of Information Technology, it's a non-profit association that took for itself to promote the innovation and to promote the professionalism and all professionals in the high-tech areas and the information technology areas. We are acting based on volunteers from all over the industry of the IT industry in Israel, also from IT organization within companies and also IT companies, guys from here and here, from the academic, from startups, from everywhere. And we are acting in centers of excellence, forums and clubs, in which that we can see now, if you can see the blue parts of this picture, you can see that we have Center of Excellence for Development ALN, for data innovation, for cyber security, for blockchain, multimedia, innovation for itself, infrastructure, and so on, and in which all the members of the those that are members in the chamber, in the association, can use or can choose for themselves activities from any point of interest that they are looking for, and we can see that besides this Center of Excellence, we have also forums and clubs for roundtables, for data sharing, and for serving all the industry. We are acting in many numbers. We have about 100 companies and organizations from all over Israel that are members in the chamber, with now about 20,000 members, and we are still growing all over the world to cover all the industry. And there are many professional events, meetups, many lecturers, executive clubs. We have many study plans. You can see we have 25 study plans in the academic and colleges that are supported by us, and they are, can be the one that they learn in this academic, and after he has the degree, he is entitled to be a chamber, to have a chamber certification and to be a chamber member. So this is a few words about our association, and we are expecting a very nice and morning in many days. So thank you very much for joining us, and Shai, I'm back for you.
Thank you so much, Eli. If you can please stop sharing the screen.
Yeah, I will do it.
Yeah, so we can move on. Okay. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Shai Gershon, and I am the head of Innovation Technology Center in Learning in Israeli Chamber of Information Technology. And yes, I am very, very excited, and can see in the audience a lot of friends from Israel and from all over the world. And it all comes to one sentence that Shimon Peres said. He said, "There is no room for small dreams." And we are here to dream big. And when you will come to the Paris Center for Peace and Innovation, you can really look behind the horizon. This is the view from the center. And actually, we all have the opportunity to redesign the learning from the beginning. I think that the coronavirus gave us this opportunity. And I think we all should collaborate in search and in learning, and we need to exchange opinions and became one class that we're all sharing in the all globus. And the purpose is to create solution for a better world. I'm talking to the Z generation, the digital age, in the digital age, and they're all the time talking about creating a better world. So I actually said that let's dream big, as let's make the change and make it happen. The world as a classroom. I'm very happy to introduce Dr. Edna Pasher. She is my partner to this dream. And Edna, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shai. I'm very happy and honored to have my friends join me, my friends from abroad and my friends from Israel, to join me this morning, this evening, to kick off a real big program. This is our dream, called the World as Classroom. I would like to say a few words regarding how we are going to move on. We have a few speakers from abroad. We have the heroes of our story, City as Classroom. And you will get to listen to all of them. We are going to use a little Hebrew and a lot of English because it's an international webinar. Whatever will be asked or shared in Hebrew, I will translate into English. I would like to thank the sponsor of this webinar, Eli Frank, who is here with us. Shai and myself hope that out of this morning, we will come out with plenty of global projects in which we help our children make a better world. So thank you very much for being here with us. So first of all, I would suggest that we go around the room, we go around the world, and each of us introduce themselves. So I will go first. You know my name, and my PhD is from a discipline that is still a pioneering discipline called media ecology. I did my PhD at NYU with Professor Neil Postman. There I met Professor Bob Logan, who is here with us. And Professor Bob Logan was kind enough to invite two of his friends, and they will introduce themselves too later on. Andrew Mcluhan, yes, it's the same family name, and Alex Kuskis. So first we will go around and everybody introduce themselves. So as I said, in addition to where I studied, which is where this evening actually started, in my first career, I was a teacher myself, and I always thought that we need to listen to the students and to collaborate with them because they are our future. So I'm very happy to be doing it this evening too. I am the chair of the Israel Smart Cities Institute, And this is what brought me to the Hamanchil School in Ramat Gan, which is the beginning of our webinar now. And I would like at this point to ask Ayala Albaz. She is the principal of Hamanchil School, to tell us a little about herself and what was her big challenge in that project. Maybe about the challenge we will talk later. Just say a few words about yourself, Ayala, and about the school. And if you want to do it in Hebrew, בבקשה, תציגי את עצמך ואת בית ספר המנחיל. בבקשה. תעשי unmute, Ayala.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ayala, and I'm principal of Hamanchil School in Ramat Gan in Israel. I will speak in Hebrew, please. בבית הספר המנחיל לומדים כ-520 תלמידים. חשוב לנו מאוד לטפח בבית הספר ילדים שהם יוזמים, בוחרים את הנושאים שמעניינים אותם. חשוב לנו להכין אותם לעולם של המחר, כי המאה ה-21 היא כבר כאן, וכל המיומנויות, הכישורים והערכים שקשורים במאה ה-21, אני רואה כחובה להקנות אותם לתלמידים שלנו. התלמידים שלנו לומדים מתוך עניין, הנושאים שהם בוחרים, הם בוחרים אותם מתוך המציאות החיים שלהם. הפדגוגיה המלווה את בית הספר שלנו נקראת U-Learning, Ubiquitous Learning. הם לומדים במציאות ועל המציאות, בכל זמן ומקום, דברים שמעניינים אותם. הם חוקרים, הם יוצאים לסביבה הקרובה והרחוקה, בתוך העיר רמת גן, מחוץ העיר לרמת גן, ובוחרים נושאים שמעניינים אותם מעולם החיים שלהם. הפרויקט שעליו עדנה מדברת, ושחשוב לה...
על זה נדבר אחר כך.
אוקיי.
הפרויקט נדבר אחר כך. סליחה ותודה רבה מקרב לב, את הגיבורה של הערב. Ayala said that she is, of course, the principal of Hamanchil School, where we implemented the city as classroom ideas. The school has 520 children. It is focused on innovation and entrepreneurship. It lets the children choose what they want to study inside and outside of the school. She is focused on teaching the children the skills of the 21st century. So because we have limited time, I will stop and I will let Oriane, she is our future, and she is a student from Hamanchil School. Oriane, just say a few words about yourself. Don't talk about the project yet, just about yourself.
Okay, so hi, my name is Oriane. I'm 13 years old, and I'm learning in Hamanchil School with Ayala, my principal. And I can say that Hamanchil School is really the future, because they let us, the children, to learn some stuff that we cannot learn in other ways. We talk with people and not with books. Like, we're learning in a visual way, not a way not a normal way in school.
Thank you very much, Oriane. We will listen to you later on. I would like now to ask my dear, dear friend, Professor Bob Logan, to introduce himself.
Shalom Rebachal. Peace and blessings. Here I am in Toronto, the city of Marshall Mcluhan. This is Lake Ontario. Here's a picture of me and Marshall, a painting that my wife did. I started my life as academic life as a physics professor. I got my PhD at MIT. I did my undergraduate at MIT. I started a course in 1971 called The Poetry of Physics. And Marshall McLuhan heard about my course and wanted to meet me. And that is how we began our relationship. So I look forward to hearing from everybody. And I'll practice some of my Hebrew. Manishtana halayla hazeh. Why is this night different than all other nights? You have a call online yeshiva, because we have an online yeshiva. Toda rabah.
Toda. Thank you very much, Bob. Andrew, could you kindly introduce yourself? Just unmute.
Happy to. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me here. My name is Andrew McLuhan. Marshall McLuhan was my grandfather, but he died when I was around 2 years old. And my father was Eric McLuhan, Marshall's eldest son, who started working with Marshall in the mid-late 60s, worked with him up until he died in 1980, and then spent the rest of his life, he died in 2018, continuing Marshall and his work, putting out several books, writing a lot of papers, and continuing their explorations. I didn't go to undergrad or graduate school. Instead, I've been working, and I spent the last 10 years with my dad, learning from him as much as I could and traveling with him when he spoke at conferences. And for the last 2 years, I started something called the McLuhan Institute, which is an organization created to bring forward McLuhan studies in the McLuhan tradition. So I'm very grateful to be here today and explore this wonderful topic. It's very nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Last but not least, Alex Kuskis. Alex, please unmute yourself. Thank you, Alex. Please introduce yourself.
Well, good morning, everybody, from Fergus, Ontario. I'm a Torontonian, but I live about 100 kilometers in the country, northwest of Toronto now. And good evening in Israel and everywhere else in the world. I'll give you a little bit of information about myself. I've had 3 careers. So they tell students these days they'll probably have 5 or 6 careers over their lives, because the jobs will eventually become obsolete and you'll have to learn something new. Well, I've had 3 careers myself already. I spent 10 years in book publishing for some firms like Penguin and Holt Reinhardt Winston, etc. I spent 10 years in computer industry and the information technology training industry. I was a chair of continuing education at DeVry Institute of Technology in Toronto. And then I've spent part of my career in university teaching. And I've taught both in the classroom. My first job was at the University of Winnipeg, Marshall McLuhan's first university. But now I did my PhD at the University of Toronto in the Faculty of Education, and I did it in media studies and computers. And I have been teaching online for the last 15 years, entirely online, for 3 different universities. So I'm very well versed in that. And I got hooked on McLuhan rather late, because I could have taken a course with him when I was first in graduate school at the University of Toronto, and I didn't. I was studying theater and dramatic literature, and I came to McLuhan much later. But since 1988 approximately, I've been a student of McLuhan, and I published the McLuhan Galaxy blog, which has been around for 10 years. And I look forward to this, and thank you for inviting me.
Edna, you are on mute.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Alex. So we finished the round, and now we are going to see a very short film that Ayala was kind enough to share with us that tells the story of our project, The City as Classroom in Hamanchil School in Ramat Gan, in pictures, which is nice. And if I will see it necessary, then I will add a few words in English when it is over. Shai, please take over.
Yeah.
ילדי המנחיל נהנו לאתגר של העיר רמת גן להפוך את העיר לחכמה. הם יצאו למסע יזמי שמבוסס על החשיבה העיצובית. הם נפגשו עם מומחים, ניתחו נתונים, חקרו, ראיינו אנשים, העלו תובנות ובנו אבות טיפוס שנותנים מענה כדי להפוך את רמת גן לעיר חכמה.
איך הופכים עיר להיות עיר חכמה?
עיר חכמה זה בעצם עיר שבעצם מספקת עזרה לתושבים.
נושא העיר החכמה בחינוך. קודם כל, השאלה אם אתה רוצה לפתח משהו חדשני.
אתם סורקים את הטלפון, אתם נכנסים לסופר, אתם לוקחים את המוצרים.
אנחנו מפתחים אפליקציה שתלווה את המבקר בספארי ותהווה תוכנת ניווט להתמצאות במקום.
אתם צריכים להקיף לפי אם אחד זה מסכים מאוד. בשלב השני, שלב התובנות, אנחנו בעצם הסקנו מסקנות מהסקר והבנו שיש צורך בפרויקט שלנו והוא מאוד מאוד נחוץ וחשוב. בשלב השלישי, שלב הרעיונות, השלב שבו בעצם התחלנו להבין איך נבנה את כל המסלולים.
אנחנו נושא שבפארק יש לנו 6 ברזיות גדולות.
מכשיר ששולט על כמות המים בברזייה.
את הברזייה הזו אנחנו רואים שהיתרון שלה זה שהיא חסכונית מבחינת הלחצן שלה. הלחצן מפסיק את הזרימה אחרי מספר שניות, שזה תואם לבקבוק.
זה הנחה של כל האוטובוסים.
היה משהו שהסכמת על אוטובוס קטנה?
נגיד, הוא מגיע עוד דקה.
כל הרעיון של האפליקציות והמכשירים וההייטק זה להקל על הנהיגה, לעשות אותה יותר בטוחה.
מה שאנחנו בעצם עושים, זה אנחנו בונים אפליקציה שאולי תשמש אתכם לדעת.
אוטובוס חשמלי, תרגישו מה זה אוטובוס בלי מנוע, עם אנרגיה של חשמל בלבד.
אבל יש לנו 2 מצלמות בתוך האוטובוס, אתם רואים אנשים שבאמת עכשיו ברגע נמצאים בתוך אוטובוס, ואנחנו גם רואים פה את הדרך של מה שהנהג רואה במצלמה הקדמית.
ברגע זה אנחנו עכשיו מכינים אב טיפוס, אנחנו נעזרים באדריכל ובמפתח אפליקציות. כל אחד יושב עם קבוצה שונה. המפתח אפליקציות בונה איתנו את איך האפליקציה תיראה. אנחנו בעצם התחלנו לבנות את המוצר.
זה לא רק טיול, זה גם תוכן.
דוב ברונר, עלה לגרדום במבצע רבו, 1947.
תודה רבה. אני לא אעריך. I will be very short. What you see in the film is the story of our project, The City as Classroom. It started when Ayala asked me to come and tell the children of the school what is a smart city. And I suggested that they will find out about it themselves. And in a process that we led together during a full year, with 1 week, which was the highlight, we let the children lead their own learning of what a smart city is by developing smart solutions for their city, the city of Ramat Gan. Out of this process, they self-organized into 8 startups. You could see some of them, a smart bus, a smart safari, etc. Oriane will tell you later what was the startup that she was involved in. And so they learned to become entrepreneurs. They learned the innovation process from ideation all the way to developing it and taking it out to the market. And they learned a lot more about their city, which is of course very important too, because this way children learn how to love the city where they were born, so that they might want to stay there when they grow up. So basically this was the process. The ideas behind it, we will learn more from my friends from abroad who are experts on that. I would just now like to ask Ayala, what was, from your point of view, the big challenge in this project? מה היה האתגר הגדול שלך כמנהלת בפרויקט הזה?
מאחר ובבית ספר המנחיל יש לנו 2 דגלים שחרטנו לנו לעצמנו לטפח ולפתח בקרב הילדים שלנו, מצד אחד לטפח אדם יוזם, חוקר, שמסוגל לנתח ולהעריך תופעות טבע, לפתור בעיות באמצעות חשיבה, תכנון, design thinking, ומצד שני לטפח ילד, אדם בוגר, שיש לו יכולות של אינטליגנציה רגשית וחברתית, כל אלה היוו לנגד עינינו כדי לטפח את כל הנושא של the city of classroom. זה מצד אחד. מצד שני, העיר רמת גן חרתה על דגלה להקים עיר חכמה. וזאת הייתה הזדמנות מצוינת, ועדיין, עודנה, עבורנו כמוסד חינוכי, לקחת את ההזדמנות הזאת שהעיר נתנה לנו, להקים עיר חכמה. אפשרנו לתלמידים שלנו לבחור נושאים שמעניינים אותם בקרב העיר שבה הם נולדו וגדלים, ולמעשה הם בחרו נושאים שמעניינים אותם, והחליטו שאותם הם רוצים להפוך לעיר חכמה, כמו הספארי, כמו פח חכם, כמו ברזייה חכמה, וכן, היו בערך 8 נושאים. מאז ובעצם עד היום התפתחנו וגדלנו, והפדגוגיה של ubiquitous learning היא בעצם פדגוגיה שהיא מלווה אותנו עד היום. הילדים בעצם, כמו שסיפרתי, לומדים, בוחרים את הנושאים שמעניינים אותם, ואותם הם חוקרים. אני רואה את עצמי כמנהלת שמעיזה, פורצת גבולות, פותחת את שערי בית הספר, ובעצם מאפשרת להם לבחור את הנושאים, לחקור אותם, ליזום לבנות כל מיני מיזמים, ולשתף. בעצם כל העקרונות של הפדגוגיה מוטת עתיד, כמו שיתופיות, או פרסונליות, או גלוקליות, הם עקרונות שבעצם מלווים את כל התהליך הלימודי בבית הספר. אם תשמעו יותר מאוחר את אוריאן, תוכלו להבין מה זה עושה לילדים. הילדים נהנים לבוא לבית הספר, נהנים לבחור את הנושאים שאותם הם מעניינים, והלמידה היא למידה מתוך עניין, למידה שבעצם תלווה אותם בעיניי כל חייהם. הכישורים והמיומנויות שהם רוכשים כתוצאה מלמידה פורצת דרך כזו, של למידה במציאות ועל המציאות, ubiquitous learning, זוהי למידה שתיקח אותם לעד. אלה ילדים יזמים חכמים, שבעצם הופכים כל אבן כדי לגלות, לחקור וללמוד מתוך עניין. ובעצם זה האדם הבוגר שאנחנו רוצים להוציא אל העולם. אדם שאכפת לו מהסביבה, אדם שמשפיע ומושפע, לומד מתוך עניין.
תודה רבה. אני אגיד כמה מילים באנגלית, very shortly in English. More we can talk later. Ayala said that the biggest challenge is how to prepare children for the future, for the ability to cope in the future. This is the big challenge, and she found that such a project really helped them develop the skills that they will need for the future. She said a lot more good stuff, but I will translate it later. Now, Ayala, that we are moving to the next stage, and you already said yes to the world as classroom. What are your expectations from the second stage, which we are kick-offing tonight? We are starting tonight the big program, The World as Classroom. מה הציפיות שלך מן השלב הבא? המעבר מהעיר ככיתה לעולם ככיתה. בבקשה.
המטרה שלנו בבית הספר המנחיל היא לקדם ולטפח ילד, אדם, חוקר, שמעניין אותו תופעות בינלאומיות, תופעות שהן קשורות בתופעות טבע, בחקר הסביבה. הקורונה למשל היא נושא מצוין למחקר, והתלמידים שלנו חוקרים מתוך עניין דברים שמעניינים אותם, תופעות טבע בינלאומיות. בעיניי הקשר עם העולם הוא חלק בלתי נפרד מתהליך הלמידה, וכן הייתי רוצה לראות, לצאת מתוך הקופסה, ולראות ילדים מישראל, מארצות הברית, מאנגליה, ומכל מקום אחר בעולם, שלומדים ביחד. העולם הוא כפר גלובלי אחד קטן. אותי היה מעניין לראות איך כולנו ביחד הופכים כל נושא כזה או אחר שמעניין את הילדים שלנו לנושא מרתק שכולם ביחד חוקרים אותו.
תודה. I asked her what her expectations are for the next stage, the world as classroom, and she says that the focus is on the learner as doing research, and that the kids can do research together with children from all over the world, and she's looking forward to this program that we are developing together. We have to keep it short, so I'll move very shortly to Oriane. Oriane, what did you like about the city as classroom?
I like the way that we can learn in the many ways that in school, in a regular school, we can't. And in this year, we have 9 products that right now and all the year before, we are working on them. And I think this project is very good. It lets me to learn more things that if I was in a regular school, and Hamanchil is not a regular school, I wouldn't learn, because it's a new way to learn, and I think it's a good way to learn.
Thank you. And what is your expectation from the next stage, the world as classroom?
My expectation is that we will success in other countries, and we will have relations with other people, because I think this project is very, very special, and I really want that will work, and we can do something together that we can't do alone. And I really hope to meet children like me that are so interested to learn new things in another way, and to meet them finally and talk with them and have a good friendship with them all over the world.
Thank you, Oriane. Thank you very much. So now, after we told you about the past, we are moving to understand what it, and I would like now to ask my dear friend, the physicist who became a media ecologist, a friend of Marshall McLuhan, Professor Bob Logan, kindly share your thoughts with us regarding the project that we are kicking off tonight. Bob, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Toda rabah. So the world as classroom is happening right now. We have participants from India, from Brazil, from Israel, from Canada, from Florida. So it's happening. So as the only person on the panel that actually worked with Marshall McLuhan, let me tell you a few things about him. Who was Marshall McLuhan? Born in Edmonton, 1911, grew up in Winnipeg, built a ham radio, started University of Manitoba in engineering. He told me, I read myself out of engineering and switched into English studies. He got his Bachelor of Arts at the University of Manitoba. Then he went to Cambridge in England, where he got another bachelor's degree and a PhD. He then taught at the University of Wisconsin, St. Louis University, Assumption College in Windsor, and finally arrived in the University of Toronto in 1946, where he remained until his untimely death in 1980. He was an English professor, but he studied everything. He ran a seminar every Monday night during the time that school was in session, from 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock. And they were the most fascinating seminars I ever attended. He would draw people, not just from academia, but from the world of politics, business, artists. It was fascinating. Now, you probably have heard two of his most famous sayings. One is, the medium is the message, and the other is the global village. Why do we live in a global village? Well, it's because information is coming at us from all across the globe. And we now live in a village. We're in touch with each other. Now, a global village does not always mean everything is going to be harmonious. According to McLuhan, sometimes there are conflicts. But this is what the advantage of living in a global village is, that we have a global viewpoint. Finally, the medium is the message. What does that mean? Well, the medium is the message means that independent of the content, a medium has an impact unrelated to its actual content. So take television as an example. The idea of educational television is almost a contradiction in terms, because you cannot interact with the information on the television. The best medium for education, of course, is the book and conversations with each other. So I'll come back to that as I develop my talk, which is called Partial Disbanding of Teacher-Led Instruction. Let me tell you about how I met Marshall McLuhan. I organized a course in 1971 called The Poetry of Physics. I wanted to teach physics to humanities students. I taught physics without math. Marshall heard about my course and invited me to have lunch with him. I sat down with him, and as soon as I put my tray on the table, he asked me what I learned. And I told him, well, I was working on an idea that the reason that science began in the West, in Europe, and not in China, where all technology came from. The Chinese were the inventors of paper, ink, printing press, metallurgy. The list goes on and on. And so I said, I thought there were two reasons for this, and one was monotheism, and the other was abstract science. Monotheism and abstract science. And Marshall said, well, what else do we have in the West that we don't have in China? And I groaned, I didn't know. He said the alphabet, and that started our collaboration, and we wrote a paper called Alphabet, Mother of Invention, in which we proposed that codified law, monotheism, alphabet, abstract science, deductive logic were 5 ideas that developed between the Tigris-Euphrates River and the Aegean Sea in the time frame from 2000 BC to 500 BC. And that began our collaboration, which lasted the 6 years that I had with him. One of the key ideas in Marshall's ideas was the notion of the laws of media. I'm going to give you a crash course in Mcluhan studies right now. Laws of media consists of 4 elements. What does a medium enhance? What does it obsolesce? What does it retrieve? And what does it flip into when pushed to its extreme? Well, let's take money, for example. Money enhances commerce. It obsolesces barter or trading things, one thing for another. It retrieves conspicuous consumption. Once you have a bunch of money, you want to go out and spend it. Back in the days when we were hunters and gatherers, and when we would kill a large animal, we had a feast, and there would be a conspicuous consumption of the large animal that was killed, because if you didn't eat the meat right away, it would spoil. And what does money flip into when pushed to its extreme? Credit. All right, so now you have some idea of 2 of Marshall Mcluhan's key ideas. Now let me talk about, let me apply the laws of media to reformed education.
But Bob, I have to apologize. We have to keep it short.
Yes, it's short.
Okay, thank you.
It enhances critical thinking, plus basic skills of literacy. It obsolesces a focus on facts and information. Children can get their facts from the internet, from television. They don't need the teacher to provide them with facts. It retrieves dialogue, and it flips into a yeshiva-style educational model. There is a movement now in America to defund police departments so as to encourage more crisis management. It's not getting rid of police, but it's replacing policemen with people that have training in dealing with people who have mental breakdowns. So there has to be a radical shift, similar radical shift in education, from teacher-led instruction, which I describe as a broadcast model of education, in which the teacher broadcasts the knowledge and the students are the passive recipients of the information, to that of peer learning based on a model of a community of practice and knowledge management. As Mcluhan said, the expert gives way to the task force. The classroom should be organized as a task force. What a student learns from another student has a greater impact than something learned from a teacher. We do not need a sage on the stage, but a guide on the side. This does not mean less teachers in the system, but rather a change in what services they provide their students. The ratio of instruction to mentoring will depend on the age of the students. For the youngest students, there will be a lot of instruction to give them the basic skills of literacy, numeracy, and science. But for subjects like history, civics, geography, social science, art, and music, that should be done through mentoring, through classroom discussion. Okay, I think I've had enough. Do I still have any more time?
Thank you very much. We will come back with questions. So we heard from Bob about the new role of the teacher in our dream. And now we are going to move to Andrew Mcluhan. Could you share with us your thoughts about the world as classroom?
Thank you, Edna. I'm happy to. Thank you again to the organizers and sponsors of this for opening this conversation. And as we have a very short amount of time, it's only really an opening of a conversation. So I'm going to throw a bunch of things out there and kind of in the spirit of this talk, invite you to dig deeper on your own later on. Marshall Mcluhan was always interested in reaching students, and he made several different attempts to do so. In 1960, he was commissioned by the NAEB, the National Association of Educational Broadcasters in Washington, D.C., to write a report and a syllabus for a high school curriculum on understanding media. And the result was this project in understanding new media in 1960, which 4 years later, he would rewrite to become the best-selling book that we know, Understanding Media, the New Science. As Bob said, he was for his entire career a teacher of English and literature. And that's very important as it led to his interests in studying technology. And the skills he learned from the one directly mapped onto his study of the other. And that's also important for the way we're talking about the city as classroom, the globe as classroom, where we're moving outside these small ways of seeking knowledge and moving into the total environment to see what we can learn there. Just about not quite 20 years later, in '77, Marshall teamed up with his son Eric Mcluhan and with Kathryn Hutchon Kawasaki to write City as Classroom, Understanding Language and Media, which was another crack at delivering a syllabus, a set of tools for students to understand the workings of technology, recognizing how media and technology had drastically changed the whole world, and that when the world changes, the way we do things change, and we must find different ways of doing it that makes sense in this new world. It's an environmental approach, which is encapsulated in his phrase, the medium is the message. If City as Classroom wasn't out of date already, it certainly became out of date again in the last few months with COVID-19 and the coronavirus, which is a biological challenge which we've met technologically. And in such a short time, we have really remade the way that we do things. And I think it's important, if we want to be progressive and conscious participants in our world, we understand that the things we're doing aren't temporary measures, but they are now the way of doing business going forward. So even as things might change in a post-COVID world, when we get a vaccine or, when we get back to whatever the new normal is, the way that we've been doing things, including webinars like this, are going to become an integral part of work and socialization and education. So that the city as classroom, the smart city as classroom, the globe as classroom are not just opportunities, but imperatives in how we move forward. Bob brought up Laws of Media, this book here, which Eric Mcluhan co-wrote with Marshall and published after his death, Laws of Media, the New Science. And he brought up the tetrad, which is a fourfold tool for exploring the effects of technologies as environmental and simultaneous. And this is accomplished by asking this series of questions. I wanted to talk just briefly about the one, which is obsolescence. What does this new technology obsolesce? And a main tenet of media study is that every new technology takes over from the old technology. So it obsolesces that technology. And that is not to say that the old technology withers and dies. It's just that the role changes. So I don't think we can expect the school to die. It just has a new role. Same with the teacher and the student. And I think that's important. For the teacher, they move from, Bob had a wonderful phrase there, the sage on the stage to the guide on the side. And I love that, Bob. Well done. But it encapsulates this idea of role change. And it's, I can understand it might be a bit scary for everybody involved, but fear is going to get in the way of meeting these challenges. And as Edna says, together we will succeed. So a new role for the teacher is to become a trainer, a navigator. In a follow-up to Cydia's classroom, Eric and Kathryn wrote a piece called Cydia's Classroom, Then, Now, Next, where they suggest that the teacher's job under these conditions is to train the students' sensibilities and to teach how to ask questions in any and every field. That means training the student as an encyclopedist, which was the goal of a liberal education. So the student also gains a new role. Instead of being a passive person in their line, in their desk, memorizing things from up front, they become an active, conscious participant in their own education, which is what it sounds like is happening at that school over there in Israel. So the school also gains a new role. And one thing that we've learned in the last few months is that although we can use these tools such as Zoom, online learning, to get a lot of work done, nothing replaces face-to-face collaboration and communication and learning. They're very, very important. So the school is still going to have a role as a gathering principle, as a waypoint, an anchor, if you will, home base. And I think it's a very, very important point, but it's a different point. And I invite teachers and administrators to consider that and not be afraid that they're no longer useful or that their funding is going to dry up, but to have courage and imagination and reinvent themselves. Likewise, the city has a new role, in particular, the smart city. And a city today has so many possibilities for education, especially with technologies such as AR, augmented reality, where the student, empowered with a new tool, can become an explorer and engage with their own self-directed learning in a city. And they can go to a point and using their device, access site-specific information and help from the buildings themselves and from teachers. And they can interact with those waypoints themselves and leave their own input and create a living kind of ecosystem of education. And I'm personally very excited for those possibilities. There's no information or expertise inside the classroom which does not exist outside it now. And that's been true for a long time. As they also said, Eric and Kathryn, it is inevitable that the whole school will become a learning commons with teachers in the role of consultants as they were in the Middle Ages. We're running short on time, so just to give Marshall maybe a last word. Marshall was a friend and a big fan of the work of an English painter and writer named Wyndham Lewis. And he said in a recording in 1967, "Good heavens, that's where I got it. It was Lewis who put me on to all this study of the environment as an educational, a teaching machine. To use more recent terminology, Lewis was the person who showed me that man-made environment was a teaching machine." And I think we have a tremendous opportunity to reimagine the role of the city, the classroom, the student, and the teacher. And it's my honor to be part of these talks today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really, I appreciate it. We have to keep short because we want to answer some questions from the participants. So last but not least, Our friend Alex, the floor is yours.
Well, good morning. Shai, I prepared a PowerPoint, and if you could put that up. I'm going to keep it short, though, because...
1 minute, yeah.
It's very good that you want to keep it short. This way we can have a conversation with the participants. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me see. I've got to move this. Yeah, my talk was going to be about Marshall Mcluhan's ideas on institutional learning and what he considered to be a post-literate age. People don't read much less now. The book is not the major medium. The internet is, and so it's post-literate. A lot of people do most of their reading digitally, so the book has been obsolesced. Yes, these. Please don't move ahead until I'm finished.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention that that quote: "The little red schoolhouse is already on its way toward becoming the little round schoolhouse." Anticipation of the world, the city as classroom becoming the world as classroom. Mcluhan recognized this in 1967, and this quote was from an article on education that was published by Mcluhan and George Leonard in Look magazine, 1967. Okay, please go ahead. Forward, please.
Shai, את יכולה להעביר.
And I just wanted to show you, Andrew showed you the City as Classroom, the text of it there. The red, he had the first edition, the red book on your left. I have the second edition, the blue one on the right. It was also published separately in the United States. Okay, go forward.
Kadima.
Okay. Mcluhan was, we have to start with the fact that Mcluhan was highly critical of traditional schooling in schools in North America during the 1950s and 60s. He was moved to write that the traditional classroom is an obsolete detention home, a feudal dungeon. And since at least the 1950s, Mcluhan had seen a disconnect between the information environment that existed outside of schools, which was electronic, image and visually biased, requiring involvement in depth, etc. Whereas, and retrieving some of the conditions of oral cultures, the learning in oral cultures that had become obsolete when writing came in. He wrote that today, the ordinary child lives in an electronic environment. He lives in a world of information overload. Television had become the primary source of learner information and knowledge about the world, with movies, radio, popular music, and to some extent computers contributing to the electronic media ecology. Or next one, please. I was going to talk about 10 major themes that come up over and over again in his writings on education. And he wrote a lot more on education than just City as Classroom. He wrote several dozen articles that were principally about education. And his report on project in Understanding New Media that Andrew mentioned before, published in 1960, that was really the very first curriculum created by anybody anywhere in the world on studying media. And it wasn't a book. It was distributed as a typescript, but it was the length of a book. It should be published. Hopefully, it will be. First of all, the first major theme is cool pedagogy. I'm not going to get into the complexities of hot media versus cool media. I'm just going to say that by cool pedagogy, he meant teaching that involves students. He was adamantly against lecturing from the front of a classroom while students sit and take notes and have to regurgitate the information on tests. He argued that pedagogy should be cool to invite learner participation, interaction, and involvement, not the traditional transmission of knowledge from lectures and books. Next, please. Next one, please.
תעבירי, שי. Shai?
Something happened to the presentation, so it didn't go. Okay. Maybe we'll continue on freestyle and try to fix it.
Yeah, I'll continue. I anticipated that because with technology, you never know. It's idiosyncratic, to say the least. And I'm going to make this, try to make this shorter. I wrote a great deal, and the second major theme was well.
This is the next one?
Okay, the next one, the elimination of lectures. The need to eliminate lectures follows from the idea of cool pedagogy, or what McLuhan would have called a hot medium and low in participation. And lectures promote passivity, non-involvement, and knowledge transmission of knowledge with little retention. Students from lectures 2 months later can't remember much of anything in the lecture without going back. I'm not going to read the quotes because I don't have the time. So the next one, please.
Hala, Shai.
Okay, the next theme of his was the probe as pedagogy. McLuhan applied his idea of an intellectual probe, which was his own method of arriving at understanding, to education. And it supports his idea of his endorsement of what he called discovery learning, since that's what probes are meant to do, to discover something. So the probe is pedagogy. Theme number 4 was a redefinition of teacher roles. And Bob has already mentioned the fact that teachers are no longer the sage on stage, but rather the guide on the side. They're not the all-knowing. Students have to relate to each other and compare their ideas with each other. Collaborative learning is part of what they do. Okay, we'll go ahead.
I'll try to do it in this way.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. The fifth theme was the classroom without walls. McLuhan asserted the need to take learning out of classroom. Hence, in 1977, he came up with the book in collaboration with Kathryn, Hutchon, and Eric, his son, City as Classroom, McLuhan's only book dedicated exclusively to education, unless you include Report on Project in Understanding New Media from 1960. But all of the assignments in Classroom Without Walls are designed to take the students out of the classroom, out into the city, and to do research. McLuhan wrote somewhere elsewhere in 1966 that the amount of information that is embedded in young minds per minute outside the classroom far exceeds anything that happens inside the classroom in just quantitative terms. The sixth theme was the elimination of subjects. He thought that the division of...
שקף הבא, שי.
He argued that the division of education into subjects, math, history, physics, etc., was dividing knowledge, and he wanted more cross-fertilization between subjects. He was what was called an interdisciplinarian. He read across all disciplines. And so, and this has happened. Finland announced in 2017 that they were eliminating all subjects. This is from an article online on Finland. A revolution is coming for schools in Finland in the form of a destruction of all formal school subjects. This means that students will no longer have individual classes on subjects such as math, geography, and history, but will instead study an event such as the Second World War from the perspective of maths, geography, and history. So that is happening, and that was predicted and asked by Marshall Mcluhan. Theme number 7, the use of instructional media, not just...
השקף הבא, כן.
The dominated educational world in his day should also embrace TV, films, records, audio tapes, video, and other media. There's no question that if he were alive today, he would insist that computers would be part of what students did at school, learning computers, learning how to use them, and working with them. And also these computers would have to be connected to the internet, of course. Okay.
כן.
And then the last three themes I will simply mention quickly. The reform of assessment. He thought giving students grades, whether alphabetical ABC or numerical by numbers, was doing a disservice, that it eliminated a lot of students if they received low marks from going on to higher education. He advocated a reform and new methods of grading students, and that is happening. There are a variety of different ways you can look up on the internet. Number 9, he also insisted that students learn media literacy, and that was, he considered all media, radio, TV, the internet, etc., are languages essentially. And as new languages, they have their own separate grammar. And that grammar, understanding how they work and how to communicate with them, is what students had to learn. And so that computer literacy is important now, information literacy, internet literacy are important now. But that of course presumes that they've already accomplished the fundamental literacy, which is reading. And finally, number 10, learning a living. Mcluhan anticipated that learning and work would become increasingly interrelated. And he wrote that it is becoming clear that the main work of the future will be education, that people will not so much earn a living as learn a living. And really, he anticipated that we would have to go to school much more in the future. And you see this in education. I mean, to keep up to any profession, you have to be constantly learning, constantly relearning to keep update. They say that doctors who graduate 4 or 5 years later are out of date. There's so much new knowledge being created in any one year in any profession. So, and anyway, I'll just summarize that and finish my talk. Harshly critical of the educational practices of his time, Mcluhan offered a vision of learning that replaced lectures with active student participation, interaction, and active involvement, engaging learners in discovery learning rather than prepackaged teacher and textbook delivered content to be regurgitated on texts. His vision of the classroom without walls included a redefinition of teacher roles, the elimination of subjects, reform of assessment, and the use of instructional media, not just books. The curriculum would focus on media literacy and include the training of perception through figure ground analysis and the inclusion of arts education. And noting the trend toward learning a living, the constant upgrading of knowledge and skills by professional workers, he anticipated today's emphasis on lifelong learning and workplace training. So that's it. And I'm sorry that it was so bumpy, but there it is.
It was great. It was just great. Thank you so much, Alex.
No,
I've learned a lot from you and from all of you. And now question. Shai, any questions?
If there is any questions, you can raise your hand and we will put your mic. You can answer the question if you have something, or to write in the chat. You can write it in Hebrew as well. If you have any question. Okay, I don't see questions from the audience.
Okay, so would our dear panelists, would you like to...
Linda Rosenbrook would like to ask something. Hillel, can you unmute Linda? I can do that as well, I think so. Linda, wait. Wait, here. Okay, Linda, you can speak. No, you can't speak now. Okay, Linda, I think put you on unmute. Put your unmute in your computer.
Okay.
Okay, you can speak now.
All right. As sitting on the outsider from your panel, what is the next step in connecting this new way of learning to our schools? Are you recommending a specific path? Will there be a publication? Where do we go from here?
Okay. Would one of the panelists like to relate to that, or should I relate to it?
Well, let me just mention that I think that the internet and the classroom, the schools, will be interconnected. They already are in many instances. And the type of learning will not be only classroom and only online, but it will be hybrid learning. That way they will learn the skills of the 21st century, but still have the presence and socialization that you get in face-to-face education.
Thank you. Somebody else from my friends on the panel?
Well, I think we have to think about teacher education and bringing this message to the various institutions of teacher education. So I don't know who's going to do that. Any ideas?
Us, in this great program, we are going to work with teacher colleges as well, not just schools. It's a possibility.
Okay, well, I have a suggestion. We should, we on the panel are the teachers, and the people tuning in are the students. So now if we're going to talk about the students taking over their own education, I propose that the people in the audience come up with some ideas of how we can change the educational system. And I have started a new journal, which is a revival of Marshall Mcluhan's and Ted Carpenter's journal called Explorations, called New Explorations. And as the editor of that journal, I'm willing to publish any articles on reform of education. So I'm inviting everyone to submit articles to me. I've posted on the chat list a URL, a link to the new journal, and I invite everybody to have a look at our journal and submit an article. There's a call for papers in the journal now, and that's one way to get started. It's a question of group thinking of a task force. We are a task force. All of us tuned in here are now members of the Educational Reform Task Force. The classroom, the world is classroom. And each one of you is responsible for creating some input. So please, let's hear from you. Where can we centralize the comments people have to make, so they will go away, take away from this conversation some thoughts. And while they're online, they're watching what's going on. It's hard for them to come up with some ideas. But after we finish this webinar, I invite each of you to write down your thoughts. And, let's find an email address where they can send that to.
Thank you.
If I could add one thing, Edna, I would suggest that the next steps, and that's really the crux of the matter, is doing something. The next steps are up to not only educators, but really administrators and government people who are in charge of implementing education and funding it, to seek these different ways of doing things, because really the educators are ready. The students are more than ready. They just need to be pointed in the right direction and given the freedom to explore. So things that anybody can do to discuss these ideas with people in a position to do anything about them. That goes for especially administrators in the educational system and people in government institutions who are able to say, go for it.
Actually, at the end of the meeting, we are going to put in the chat a link to a form that you can sign in and give your name and say, how do you think we should move to the next step? So we actually, I'm going to put it in the chat right now, so you can just take it and copy it to your computer and just fill it, and we will do the next step.
I invite everybody that's watching this webinar to do what I just did, which is I put down my email address. So I'm asking everybody to please enter into the chat box. The chat box is in the lower part of your screen. Enter your email address, and that way we have a way of being in contact with each other. So let's...
it will be on the form as well.
So please give us your email address so that we can be in touch with you and inform you about the next webinar.
I'll add one last thing. If anybody wants a copy of Cydia's Classroom, I sell them at our bookshop at themcluhaninstitute.com. So go there to find out about the McLuhan Institute, and you can reach me and order books.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I would like to emphasize that this is not just a webinar, it's a kickoff for a global program to do reform in education through doing projects that children will collaborate all over the world to change the world, to create a better future for themselves. This is the big dream that Shai was talking about. Shai, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah. Before we will end this meeting, I would like that we will create something together. I'm going to put a link in the chat, and I would like you to get in, and in a one word, just tell us what you're taking from this webinar, okay? You can fill and try to get to the link. It's a special technology tools that we can all create something very nicely. So you can use your cell phone or your computer, okay? Go there and you will see what's happened immediately.
Shai, I see that Orion, the student, our young student, our future, wishes to say something. Orion, bevakasha, the floor is yours.
Yes, I would like to say about what Andrew says, that the students are ready and all the children are ready. I think he's right, because we love to learn, everybody loves to learn, but there's some students that love to learn in different ways. And I think a new way will make students to be more interested, more active, and more good in like all of their study years, because everybody wants to learn, but there is another way to do it, because there is no one way to learn. There's multiple ways for multiple people. And I think all the students are ready to a new way.
Thank you, Orion. You are our future, and I'm so happy that you are open and you share with us your expectations. I see that we have a cloud of the words that you are sharing with us, which is beautiful. I hope that you remember that this is just a kickoff for this global program. We expect all of you to participate with us in all kinds of projects. We believe that we can find co-funding in all kinds of bilateral programs where we can find local funding that are given only if we collaborate with others from around the world. This is the essence of the idea of the world as classroom, which is the second stage of the city as classroom. And the first invitation comes from Ayala and Orion from the Hamanchil School in Ramat Gan, who invite collaborations with schools from around the world. We have people from many countries. Just tell us, and we will make sure that we go forward together. Shai, would you like to add something?
No, just I would like to say thank you for everyone, and together we will succeed. Thank you.
Many thanks to Shai for being a great partner in this big dream. Thank you, Ayala. I really appreciate the journey with us. And thank you, Orion, and Bob, and Andrew, and Alex. You are great friends, and I love what Bob said. We are a task force to get it together, to take it together to a big reform in education together, led by the children. Thank you very much. Unmute yourself, Shai, we don't hear you.
תודה רבה ללשכה לטכנולוגיות מידע שבישראל שהעלתה את הוובינר הזה. תודה להלל שנתן את התמיכה הטכנית, ותודה לכל השותפים. מאחורי הקלעים עבדו פה הרבה אנשים של הלשכה, תודה רבה לכם.
Shai thanks all the people who collaborate to make it happen. Lots of people worked behind and in front of this activity. So thank you, the Chamber and all of its great people, Ellie and all the people who helped us make this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Together we will succeed. Bye-bye.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom. Tודה רבה.